It's Block Lounge Entertainment, and the time is right with T-Pre.
Grand Rising, everybody. I hope everybody is doing as great as I am today. Shout out to everybody who will catch the replay on the show. And for those of you who will catch it now, I truly appreciate you guys for tuning in. Wanted to start off the show with saying a couple of things and just preference the conversation with what we talked about last night. One of the things I want to make clear is that I do not have issues with Nikki Proctor Walden, okay? I have issues with some things that took place, and I wanted to talk about those things publicly so that those who have been affected by those things understand where I stand and understand, that they are more than welcome to come to my show and come to my channel. And that, there won't be any issues going forward from this point. But I also wanted to make it clear that this was not a jab at Nikki. This was not for me to take stabs at Nikki. And this was not for me to request for anybody to take sides between me and Nikki. Okay, that's not the case at all. There's a lot of things I did not share with the public that I wouldn't, that would give much more context to this. But I don't think it's the business of the public. And so I just ask you to use your discretion and understand, that this is an issue that came forward, unfortunately, that should not have come into the public space. But because it did, I decided to go forward and protect my brother in this situation as well. So I did go ahead and do that. But again, this is not any way a jab at Nikki, and this is not for y'all to start spinning narratives that there's some problem between me and Nikki, because there isn't. So I wanted to make that clear first. And then also I will be dropping a one receipt today on breaking the culture of silence. So you guys will see that video uploading pretty soon. And I will show you guys how we actually did meet, and how I was introduced to A Shout Into the Void. So I'm going to give you guys that information as well today, to debunk her lies, since she's been out here saying that she met me in the church sector, and she met me on Conscious's show, and I approached her and all this other stuff. So I've got that all for you guys broken down today. But what I really wanted to talk about in this is YM made a comment. She made a comment on her channel, and she also made a comment on Dr. Bombay's show. So shout out to Dr. Bombay. I am going to put a link to the video in the description box so you guys can see the video and get an understanding for yourselves of what he was saying. The video is called The Gaslighter and Other Online Deviants, Chapter 3. And I haven't been getting Bombay's his notifications. I do know that with YouTube, if you stop making videos for a period of time, the algorithm kind of drops you, and then people are not picking up your notifications. So you'll have to keep going live or uploading videos in order for you to be picked up in the algorithm again. And then people will start getting those notifications much more. So shout out to Bombay for doing his thing, coming back out here and giving us some positive information. But YM made a comment on his show that I wanted to highlight. And I'm going to do that for you guys and discuss that. But first, I'm going to play a quick 2-minute timer because I wanted to get that information out. And then I also wanted to highlight one of YM's comments from her actual channel. I think she does not get enough feedback, enough information, or enough people seeing what she says. And oftentimes I do think that YM may get a short end of the stick, even from myself. I've come down on YM for things that she said and not really necessarily meaning to. I just may have some pushback for what she's saying. And in giving her pushback, sometimes she believes I'm just against her or I don't like her. And it's not like that. It's just I may push back on what she's saying. But I actually agree with a lot of things that YM says. And so I wanted to just share those things with you guys today. But first, before I do, hey, TMK, I appreciate you being in the building. But yeah, before I do, I'm going to go ahead and play just a quick 2-minute timer for you guys. We're not going to be long today. Make sure that you guys are hitting the like button on the way in, and also hit the notification bell, and also hit that join button so that you can join us for this great content that we do behind the scenes. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and play this timer and then we'll get right into the comments. Shout out to Eyes Nation TV. I truly appreciate you being in the building. You said, "Good morning, T Pre. YM loves the banter, in my opinion. She gets a kick out of it. So do I. So I do enjoy her back and forths. Absolutely. I really do too. And again, I think that sometimes she thinks that I just don't like her or I'm coming down on her or anything. I just think her and I have strong opinions. We're strong mentally and we speak our minds and we say things. And sometimes when people do that, especially women, they clash, right? But I do agree with a lot of things that she says. And one of the particular things that she's talking about in this situation is protection on YouTube, right? Because there has been a lot of discussion about that. And hey, Miss Murph, I appreciate you being in the building. You said good morning, Miss T Pre and chat. And for all of you that are in the clouds, make sure that you hit the like button on the way in. Okay. So let's discuss real quick. Hold on one second. Let's actually discuss YM's comment because I really thought that this was great. And I would like you guys to hear what she said on TMK's show. So she said there was manipulation being done on your panel. An online group does not follow the same physicality, social structure, face-to-face courtesy, or legal rules as a neighborhood or a city. It's ridiculous to expect enforced leadership online as you might get in a city from a mayor or even a respected old head on the block. The demand for protection of professionals' jobs is self-serving and classist. That kind of protection, so-called, does not represent everyone online in the sector, nor is that equivalent to quote-unquote real life. I keep hearing these cries for the quote-unquote the men to protect X, Y, and Z, and it sounds like a pointless argument, not something to spend time on. I pondered that conversation or what she said for just a moment, and I really wanted to highlight some parts of that I actually agree with and that I had to even take a different stance on, right? Because there are times where I feel as well that some of the men don't do enough to counteract, some of the bullshit that we see from some other men. For instance, if we see men going in on women and carrying on, there is an expectation of women that men should push back on the man for that or push back at men for that. But really, is it necessary? Really, is it something that they really have to do? if they're not involved with you directly, or if they're not, if they're not directly involved in the, in the nonsense. I have to agree that in an online space, you kind of treat people a little bit different than you would in real life, right? You don't really know these people as much as you know people in real life. So, none of you I would ever have at my home. I would never have you in my personal space. I would never have you in spaces where, that's my protection. That's my first line of defense. These are things I wouldn't do, right? So I can't expect you to treat me the way someone who would be invited to this space would, someone who would protect this space would, right? Because I would only have certain people in this space to begin with. Only certain people would be allowed to be at my home, would be allowed to be in my personal space, and know personal, real, true personal information about me, right? So I can't really expect the men who are not in my life on a regular basis and the men who I meet online to treat me like a man would who is in my life on a regular basis, right? A man who would protect me, would provide for me, would be there for me, and who would support me. I can't expect that from a person online, right? So I actually do agree with her on that. We can't be expecting this protection and this, for people to look after us, quote unquote, in these YouTube streets. You're kind of on your own out here. If you come out here, you turn on the camera, or you turn on the mic, you start talking, you create videos or whatever. You open yourself up for people to critique you. You open yourself up for people to say shit about your content. You open yourself up for people to talk about you. People are going to make opinions of you. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. So I absolutely do agree with that. You can't just get all crumbled up over everything everybody says, right? And also, when it comes to this, quote unquote, protecting our jobs and protecting, our professionalism, right? If everybody is not experiencing the same situation with a person, like, let's talk about it. We're talking about AAS, okay? Some of us have had her contacting our jobs, contacting our families, doxing us, and so forth and so on. If we have experienced these things, then we will need to take legal measures against this woman, okay? Which is something I'm doing, something others are doing, and something we all need to do. Hey, Joe, I appreciate you being in the building, sis. Shout out to you. And Diggable Logic, I appreciate you as well. You said Toast Miss T Pre in chat and chat fam. Appreciate you guys. If we're going to be talking about what we are experiencing ourselves with anti-Afro, we will need to take those measures to handle her legally. Okay. There are people that are doing that, whether she decides to talk about that publicly or not, or whether anybody else decides to talk about that publicly or not. We all know what's really going on, and she does too. Okay. So that I agree with. I think that it's pointless to like conjure up a bunch of people behind you to kind of, rally behind me behind this situation, because everybody is not experiencing the same thing. Okay. Some people experience AAS in a very calm, collected light. She doesn't run amok amongst them. She doesn't show them some of the nonsense that she does behind the scenes, right? She doesn't show them some of the bullshit that she's involved in. So some people think she's really this upstanding, great person who enjoys life and she's just against fraud, okay? Whereas other people have experienced exactly that. They've experienced this woman attacking them because of their skin tone, attacking them because of their race, coming after their job, doxing their families, doxing their information, contacting CPS on them, contacting the state, contacting the FBI, you name it. She's done these things. Okay. We know that these things have happened. However, I myself, I cannot react to a situation that I haven't experienced. Okay. So even if you've experienced that situation and you're going through that situation with somebody, if I haven't actually experienced it, I personally can't react to it. Okay. Now, there are some things where I can have empathy for. Okay. I can be, I can be very empathetic towards situations. I can, sympathize with you and so forth. But if I haven't really experienced it myself, I can't really feel what you're saying. So I do think that there is a space in this YouTube, in this sector, where folks who have been affected by AAS tend to want people to rally behind them, behind whatever they're experiencing. Okay. And it's kind of the same thing that AAS was doing at one time, where she was going after who she thought was wrong and going after these quote unquote fraudsters and having people rallying behind her, using the propaganda to get people all riled up and worked up, to get people on her team to go after these people. It would be the same thing in us doing that with her. It would be much better, right? As opposed to jumping on this woman and jumping on all these narratives and doing all this stuff and taking this person's story and that person's story and this person's story and combining everything all together, and everybody jumps on her and gets her quote unquote out of here, right? Even I have been, guilty of wanting that. But I don't know how effective that really is. I don't know how, we really should be doing that, because it ultimately would be the same type of techniques that she uses. And that is not something we want to do. None of us want to become like this woman. Okay. I think we all have a consensus on that. So we don't want to do things like she's doing it. We got to do things the legal way. We got to do things the right way, and we got to handle her properly. So I do agree with YM that, when it comes to this whole, the Black community and the sector, we got to look at this as what it is. And it's not the Black community. You know what I mean? It's not the community as a whole. And everybody that comes into this space doesn't experience the same exact thing. I think that's fair. And I think that's important to keep in mind when we're going through this situation and while we're dealing with this. And let me go ahead and pull up YM's channel, because she had some other comments that I wanted to highlight as well. And then we're going to end the show. So she did say, I am a part of the sector, and I don't want any man or woman taking quote unquote leadership online to tell me how I need to react to AAS. I'm not voting for an online furher to handle a troll for threatening professionals' jobs. Thank you. That is a small class of people who are voluntarily using the internet for social interaction. That is not a Black community under siege. And I absolutely 100% agree. We are not, and we have to stop taking, and there's a few people that do that. We take the sector and we make the sector the world. We make the sector the Black community. You understand what I'm saying? And we try to represent whatever happens in the sector is how this is going to affect the entire Black community as a whole, is going to affect the entire world as a whole. I think those who are kind of making those points and thinking those things are possibly spending too much time in the sector and spending too much time in this situations and on YouTube and just kind of letting this stuff whirl around their heads. And they end up thinking that everything kind of connects to the sector, and it really does not. She's absolutely right. It is a group of people, a group of professionals here who have experienced some really ridiculous things from anti-Afro. That small class of people are actually voluntarily using this space. We do not have to come on here. It's not, this is not anti-Afro's, YouTube. This is not T-Pre's YouTube. This is not, this is a space that we all voluntarily come to. It's kind of like the Rev G thing, where he's always saying, how for 2 years he's been being quote unquote attacked, and all these people are attacking him, and all these things are happening to him. And he's not putting up any boundaries to create any type of boundary between him and these people that he claims are attacking him, right? Boundaries meaning, why are you going over and watching these channels? Why are you going and looking and combing through these people's chat rooms? See, those would be boundaries that you can actually put in place, right? The same thing can happen with AAS. Boundaries have to be set. You got to be careful what information you're putting out and allowing people to know. Me, myself, too. So that people are not giving information to people and putting information out in the streets, or giving information to people and people are doxing you because of it. Okay? So there's boundaries you have to place. I'm not going to go surfing through AAS's channel every day and figuring out what she's saying about me and what she's talking about. I'm not going to go through Rev G's channel every day and figure out what he's saying about me and how he can, and then get a rise out of what he's saying and then respond and all this other stuff. I'm not going to do that because I've placed those boundaries in place. And these are things that I would expect everyone to do. You should be putting boundaries in place so that you are protecting yourself. You are protecting what you're allowing to come into your eyes, come into your ears, and then come out of your mouth. That's what you got to do. I appreciate you, Stephanie Collins, for being in the building. I'll go over you guys' comments in just a second. You said, good morning, good morning. So, that's what we have to do. And we've got to stop looking for everyone to band together and go after this woman as if everyone in this space is experiencing the same things, and as if this woman really has that much impact on the Black community as a whole and has that much impact on the world as a whole. Like I said, whatever experience you are having with that woman, me, myself, I've had those experiences with her. Whatever experience I am having with her, I can handle her legally. But it doesn't mean, and I want to say this on the flip side of this conversation, it doesn't mean that people are going to stop talking about AAS. I don't know where, there's this notion that folks should stop speaking on her or folks should stop talking about her. No, we're going to talk about her. We're going to call out her bullshit. We're going to speak on her. We're going to tell her about herself and all that stuff. But when it comes down to literally requesting for the sector to put some type of protection in place over her and, or over us regarding her, I think that is literally ridiculous. And I do agree with YM regarding that. I don't think that the whole Black community is under siege because this woman is running them up. I think that there's actually worse people than her in the world. You understand what I'm saying? Like, really, if you think about it. So I just wanted to highlight those things from YM because I really thought that it was important that, other people heard this as well. There's some people who obviously have not seen those comments because she doesn't get a lot of, back and forth on her community wall. And I just wanted to post that, and I'm actually going to share it once I get off the show. But either way, I just wanted to share that with you guys and get and help you guys see where I came from with that and where YM came in with that. And I hope that you guys can see the same. TMK, you said, I enjoy a healthy discourse as well, but that would be nice if some could be more verbal on panels. It is difficult at times to read words and properly interpreting the expression while running a show. That's very true. And if you'll hold on just a moment, I'm going to place you guys. There's something I got to do. So bear with me just a second, guys. Okay, my bad, guys. Sorry about that. All right, so yeah, you said, let me just read that again. You said, I enjoy a healthy discourse as well, but it would be nice if some could be more verbal on panels. It is difficult at times to read words and properly interpreting the expression while running a show. I agree with that. But there's just some people that just don't come on the panels. I know YM just, and I understand. I think that's a boundary that she has. Hey, she just doesn't want people to hear her voice. She doesn't want people to see her face. And I think that's a boundary that she has created. And I think it's a pretty smart and healthy boundary in this space. So I get it. Because yeah, I'm the same way. Sometimes text messages or whatever, they come across different than what you would say in person or what you would say over the phone with somebody. So I do understand that, and I agree with that. And it is very difficult at times to read from StreamYard while you're in the middle of a show. There's even comments that don't always show up in StreamYard, where they show up in the comment section, but they don't show up on StreamYard. So yeah, it is like that up here on this side of it. And those who don't do live streams also don't know that. So that is something that to take into consideration for those of you who are in the chat. Take those things into consideration when you're trying to get a point across to a content creator. Be more specific, maybe say a little bit more, and if you're not going to get on the panel to explain. You said also being verbal makes more of an impact. I personally didn't address the comment because it have been posted several times in the past on other channels. Oh, okay. Okay. You said, I do get the protection angle, though. Recently, so-called men are running around fanning the flames of conflicts between women and celebrating their demise on social media. Bitch made. I absolutely do agree with that. And I don't stand and don't want to stand in the way of any gatekeeper men and gatekeepers who really do want to speak on those things. I think that is important, but I'm not expecting it, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not looking for other men to do that. There are men that are doing it, though. Like, shout out to Alan Logic. Shout out to you. Shout out to Keeping It Plain and some others, Shak and Ra, P. There's others, D. Durrell. There's others that really do call out men's nonsense, call out some of the stuff that they do, especially if they take it too far when it comes to race baiting and stuff like that. I really do appreciate the men that gatekeep and do say something about it. But I think what YM is saying from a woman's point of view is that, hey, we can't necessarily expect that gatekeeping. We can't expect that from the men because they don't necessarily owe us that, right? And I agree with her on that. But I appreciate the ones that do. And I wanted to say that too. And Grand Rising, Stephanie Collins, you said, good morning, good morning. I appreciate you being one of my longstanding members as well. LV, you said, and I appreciate you being in the building, LV, you said, the best practice of protection is not logging on. Exactly. There's a reason why my lady doesn't have social media because of how it affects her mental health. The internet will never care about your feelings. 100% facts. I got to keep that on the screen for just a second and break that down a little bit. We are not here to protect anyone's feelings, right? And the internet is just not going to do that. No matter what space you're in, no matter where you're going, unless you have this completely controlled space that you know who's in there and you know what's there, you're just literally not going to get that protection, in these streets. You have to learn how to log out. You have to learn how to disengage. You have to learn how to back away, and just leave shit where it is. And you have to learn how to let things go, right? You can't just be out here every day, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And this person did this to me and that person did that to me. And you're pulling up stuff from 2 years ago and 3 years ago and 8 years ago and stuff like that. And to the point where the people that you're targeting don't even know what the hell you're talking about anymore, because they've moved on. They're, other things in life are happening with them. They can care less about what happened yesterday compared to what happened a year ago. So, these are times where, literally you need to shut it off. You understand what I'm saying? And you got to stop trying to convince everybody else to be on your side with it. And I agree. There's a lot of social media spaces that I don't really interact with like that. I have Facebook, I got Instagram, I've got those things. But my Instagram and my Facebook is usually, and I'm usually, well, even Facebook, I really haven't, but my Instagram, I'm usually interacting on Black Lounge. I'm not interacting with my regular my regular Instagram. I just don't. And then in other spaces, it's the same way. I have TikTok. I've got, a couple of things, but I'm not really a TikTok person. I kind of do like little things with my kids and stuff on TikTok. But other than that, I'm not a TikTok person. I'm not into this whole social media craze like a lot of people are. And I think that does protect me in a lot of ways. I have found myself in toxic situations on YouTube, though. And I have found that if backing away from it has helped. I found that not always going live, not always telling y'all everything, not always jumping on here has helped, And I also found that blocking people in chats, not listening to what they have to say and hearing their responses and running over to their channels to hear what they're talking about and running over to their channels to listen to what they're saying and hear what they might say. Like, I don't care. I literally don't care. And I think some people want me to care, but I don't. And I think other people should feel the same way. I think you should definitely understand that social media can, in fact, affect your mental health if you're not careful and if you're not putting up walls around yourself regarding this. And it's not up to anybody else to put those walls up for you. You said, we talking about the phantom menace to society? Yes, ma'am. That's what we was talking about. You said, if your name is still ringing out in this sector like mine does, then just recognize that you have fans. Exactly. Fans who are only relevant in this sector and nowhere in real life. Say that shit again for the people in the back that can't hear you. If your name is still ringing out in this sector, then just recognize that you have fans. Fans who are only relevant just in this sector, not anywhere in your real life, not anywhere on your job, not anywhere in your home, not anywhere with your family members, not anywhere with your significant other, not anywhere with your friends, in real life friends, not anywhere with any situation. These people literally only affect this space. That's it. So you got to keep that in mind when you're facing these situations, when you're facing, people. And people are going to talk about you. That was something I had a recent conversation with someone about. People are going to fucking talk about you. People talk about people every fucking day. Okay? I mean, it is just what it is. You can't stop people from talking shit. You can't stop people from feeling what they feel. They're going to feel what they feel. They're going to talk shit. They're going to say what they want. So you got to understand that a lot of these people who tune into your shit and watch are just fans. They're literally fans. Like, they love everything you do to the point that they tune in every time you go live. Even if they go back and try to troll whatever you said later, even if they try to go back and talk shit about what you're saying, they are tuned in and watching, okay? I don't know if maybe they don't understand that a person like myself, who's monetized, a person like Shakim, who's monetized, we get paid every single time y'all tune in. Even if you have YouTube Premium and you're not seeing ads, we get a percentage off of YouTube Premium ads. We get a percentage off of regular ads. We get a percentage. We get we get the super chats, and we get everything else that comes with it. The fact that you are watching is paying me. So it doesn't matter if you don't like me, if you hate me, if you replay my show on your show, if you re-listen and you're not showing the video, but you're listening in and you're stopping and going. All of that is paying a bitch. So yes, y'all are fans when you tune in. You understand? Got to understand that. But shout out to the fans. And you're right. If your name is ringing bells, it's because you got fans, good and bad. You said entire panels of faceless men disparaging women while verbally masturbating each other. You know what? I actually agree with that. I think that does happen. I think there's a bunch of faceless men, or at least they think they're faceless, and we don't know what they really look like. Shout out to Deacon Young. Maybe I'll post his picture one day. But anyway, we got a bunch of faceless men, talking about the color of Black women and talking about them looking like monkeys and looking like gorillas and, just using all those racial slurs against Black women, while verbally, like you said, masturbating each other because they need that stimulation of somebody talking trash about a Black woman. They just need that. They feed off of it. So yeah, that does happen. And there are men out here who don't mind telling you niggas about yourself. Shout out to the speakeasies as well, who also speak up to these niggas. You said, I love being called crazy when I know I'm right. Okay. Shout out to the speakeasies too, who speak up to these niggas and don't be, just letting these niggas talk in the old kind of way. What's up, Diggable Logic? You said facts. I guess you said facts. Stephanie Collins, you said TMK, bitch made, indeed. Made a bitch as a bitch, like a bitch. Okay, 100% facts. You said, speak easy, you my crazy email husband. Yeah, E-boo, E-husband, E-boos and E-husbands. Shout out to y'all. Hey, brother of a certain age, I appreciate you being in the building. Shout out to them. Make sure y'all set up with the partners. Make sure y'all get with these brothers and check them out. Shock and Rob, my favorite brother in the house. I appreciate you being in the building, bro. You said, what's up, Josephine? You said, that's the reality, P. You said, hey, Steffi Joe, spoken easy, speak easy, I think you're saying. Shakim, diggable, etc., spoken easy. You said, what's up, Doc? You said, that is the reality. Protection may be ideal and would be nice, but it's not realistic. Exactly. It's not realistic for women or anybody to expect it. Like, I'm not expecting it, but if it happens, it's appreciated, very much appreciated, but it's not expected. And it becomes annoying in a sense when you're hearing people just expecting it, and I don't ever want to come off like that. I want to make sure that I'm saying, hey, I appreciate the men who do. I appreciate the men who speak up on these things, but I'm not expecting you to, I'm not expecting that because of the kind of space that we're in. We're not in the real world. So, you said, as an observer with toast and roast and corny jokes, I determine my place in this space. I determine my place in this place. I'm not triggered by remote control. Exactly. And I agree with that. I think that's great to have that kind of mindset. And I know what you meant by space. But I think it's important to have that kind of mindset and just understand, hey, you can come over, banter, laugh, and joke and chill. I agree. I think there is some folks who take shit too far. I think there are men, particularly men, who are taking things too far with the women. They have no pushback on the men, but they have a whole lot of stuff to say about the women and want to jump smooth in the middle when the women are going back and forth, or at least it appears that way. And I think that's a problem. And I appreciate the men saying something about that, but I'm not expecting it. So yeah, again, like you said, you just understand your place and space in these streets, and I think everybody would be fine, right? Brother of a certain age, you said the internet finally does not care about. You said the internet definitely does not care about your feelings, but I generally won't say anything online that I wouldn't say in person. I agree with that. Generally, I do not say things online that I can't say in person, or I won't say things to someone that I can't repeat or that can't be repeated, right? Like, I don't mind if something actually gets repeated if I said it. Sometimes I have to give context to why I said it. Sometimes I have to, give a little bit more, but I don't really mind. I really don't. Samba the Snake Queen. Shout out to you. You said facts, and I appreciate you being one of my longstanding members as well. Appreciate you being in the building. Stephanie, you said every now and again they can create a real life problem, but in the end, everyone I know is batting zero. Okay, 100% facts. You said these immature dudes remind me of the little boy who pulls a little girl's hair when he really likes her. grow some balls, bitch, and fuck y'all. Exactly, Stampa. That does remind us of kind of like in kindergarten where the little boy that had a crush on you, he might pull your chair from underneath you or something crazy, or he might trip you so you can fall. He might push you or pull your hair and then run, but actually he really likes you, you know? So it does kind of give off that energy, you know what I mean? It really does. Um, but it's also very feminine, you know, because like I said, I'm not saying this to, you know, to knock women, because women are not always just running around in banter, just talking shit about people. But women do tend to hang out with their friends and gossip with each other. You know, and I see a lot of that with men in this sector, you know, and it's not all the men. Trust me, it's not even close to all the men. It's just a few, it's a handful. I see that with them where they just get together and literally gossip for hours and hours and hours. And there's not a single female on that panel. It's just them. And it's crazy how they do that. Like, even the women aren't doing that. It's the men, grown ass men, like 20s and 30s, you know, and 40s and stuff doing this stuff. I'm so very confused about that. But, you know, hey, I think we got a lot of incels around here too. So I think that has to do with it. But, you know, hey, it is what it is. Miss Murphy said there is so much negativity. It would be nice to have more positive and building content in the sector to level things out. I agree. I think lately there's been a lot of negativity and people just being negative. Yeah, and I would love to see the LVs and stuff bring back the builds. R&T was doing that for a second, and then he just kind of went off rails, and I don't know what he's doing now. But yeah, he was doing that, and now it just seems to be like, you know, everything is just back to the whole, you know, a bunch of BS. But hopefully it will come back to what it was. You said Samba awakens. You said LOL Bombay. And Diggable says, hey to TMK and peace to you. All right, listen, guys, I really appreciate y'all being in the building. I just wanted to give that bit of information. But again, shout out to YM Wonders Why. And if you guys can go over and subscribe to her channel, make sure that you check her out and go over and check out her community tab. She has a lot of great information in there. And she speaks, you know, she speaks from her point of view on stuff. She gives, you know, her input and opinion on things. Sometimes I do think her opinion is overbearing. I agree. You know, but I think all of us can be overbearing at times. You know, we're just women. That's what we do. So, you know, but I do think that, you know, that sometimes, but I actually agree with a lot of things that she says. And, you know, and I really like, I just want to share, you know, some of the things she says, because I don't think she gets enough attention on it. I don't think enough people actually see it. So make sure that you guys go and check her out. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here so I can get my workday started. I truly appreciate you guys for being in the building. Shout out to all of you for coming in and those who will catch the replay. Again, hit that like button on the way in and on the way out. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace, guys. And thank you guys for watching.